Well, I lost my train of thought there and got this started a little early in my countdown there. It's very sad news. I just got a text from Gary Haven, the guitar player in the band. A good friend, one of his best friends, Bill Wiemeyer, who plays music with us sometimes also, although we haven't had Bill on the channel here yet. We need to do that. Unfortunately, Bill's wife passed away last night, and so that's what got me all befuddled here, and I clicked the wrong button before I should have. But wow, you just never know when it's your turn, And apparently, she died of a heart attack, and really, really, really sad. Moving on here, I've got a good lineup for you today. The discussion left off yesterday with the flywheel and the key that holds the flywheel on the shaft of the chainsaw, and whether or not that key is damaged or not. Well, I'll be honest, my vote's still a little bit out. I don't think the key is damaged, but it's hard to tell because this particular key is built into it. Can you see it there at the bottom? The key is actually built into this thing. It's not, everything I do is backwards, so bear with me here. But anyway, the key there is built in, and it's kind of domed. It's not, typically they're very squared off, and everything's very precise, and this is, yeah, it's different. I've probably seen this before. I've taken apart so many engines, but I don't recall seeing it. Anyway, it does appear to be built as part of the flywheel, and you can actually see it better there, I think, right now. And so the key doesn't pop out of there, but I'm looking at the key as best I can look at it, and it doesn't look like it's been tweaked one way or the other, so I'm going to assume that this is not the problem. It's the best I got right now. I didn't get as far along on things yesterday as I had planned, although I did get quite a bit accomplished. So let's take a look at the first little video clip I have of what I did yesterday. Well, this is probably where I'm going to stop for this time. There's still, I don't know, a quarter of a bucket left in there. It would definitely fill this up the rest of the way, no question. But there's a lot of hot coals in that, and so I think I'm just going to leave it in there. And I can set this big root wad on top of that, and it'll catch that on fire, and I'll throw a bunch of other pieces in there too. It's really a large firebox. It's a lot bigger than it looks, and will hold a lot of firewood. And this bucket holds a lot more ash than that looks like too, and it's definitely something you would not want to trip and fall into because that would burn you alive. It's way hotter than it looks. It doesn't show any smoke, but if you could see that infrared heat coming off of it, trust me, it's really hot. In fact, it's so hot I doubt I could touch the metal on this without burning my hands. So anyway, it is what it is. Here's a different view so you can see it's pretty big. And I don't have a lot of wood left, but what I have will fit in here nicely, and I got to go cut some more. And anyway, that's the name of that tune. Just thought I'd show you how I do what I do. Yeah, it's a never-ending battle all winter with that thing. And yeah, I know. You don't have to tell me I'm an idiot for doing all this, but it's what keeps me young, healthy, and being able to fight off pneumonia. That's really what slowed me down yesterday again, was the pneumonia. Someone mentioned about getting pneumonia shots. I'm going to look into that for sure. It started to hit home a little bit more. I watched a little video clip on YouTube yesterday about Mary Lou Retton, and she got struck down with pneumonia, and apparently it almost killed her. She's on oxygen and that sort of thing. She's, I think, on the road to recovery, but she got pretty bad there. I think that kind of finally showed me how important this might be. So now the question is, do I need to wait until I'm over this before I go get the pneumonia shots, or does anybody know the answer to that? And of course I can check with a doctor, of course, but I'm just curious if anybody already knows that. Moving on to the next little item, I also did this yesterday. Well, we're down here in JR's flooding property area. This property floods once or twice a year, usually for about a week to 10 days, and then it's good to use after that. So he's going to try to make some, pastures down in here, and for the most part, it'll be good. But there's a lot of trees to be taken down. You can see I just sawed up some of this right here, and some of this stuff over here I sawed up too, a big log there. And you can see the trailer's pretty full. The trailer gets down to the point where it's almost sitting on the tires. I have some metal stops in there to keep that from happening, but the springs are pretty much flattened out. So it's a pretty heavy load. Look how big these end logs are, and I had to lift them up there. Those end logs are really big and really heavy. And there's only 3 of them across that's almost a 5-foot span there. It might even be 5 foot, I can't remember. But it's definitely more than 4. And so you can see how big they are, just because it only took 3 of them to fill up that space. So anyway, about to get rained on. I can hear thunder in the distance. So I'm going to get this headed up to the house. And for those of you who have not had the pleasure of cutting your own firewood and hauling it and all that, it's way heavier than it looks. Way heavier. It's really heavy. Those end logs, I would say, I don't know, 90 pounds a piece, maybe, probably more than that. That one, it had to be over 100 pounds, the biggest one. Yeah, it was heavy, really heavy, and it's bulky, and you got to try to pick it up and then get it up there, and yeah. So even with my pneumonia, I did all right, I think. But it was about all I wanted after I got done. When I got that all loaded and headed up to the house, I thought about coming back and getting another load, but that's all I did was think about it. And here's another thing I did yesterday. You'll like this one better.
All right here. Come here. Come here. See it? See it? Yeah. Go get it. Bring it here. Bring it here. Bring it here. Bring it here. Yeah, good puppy. Good puppy. Yeah, good puppy. Good puppy. Good puppy. Yeah, good puppy. Good puppy. Can you sit? Can you sit? Good puppy. Yeah, good puppy. Good puppy, good puppy. Can you shake? Shake, shake, shake. No, sit, 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 shake, shake. Good, there you go. You did it. Good girl. Good puppy. Good puppy. Yeah, real good. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Looky. Go get it. Go get it. Breathe here. Breathe here. Yeah, good puppy. Yeah, good puppy. Yeah, really good. Good job. Good puppy. Yeah, that's a good job.
Well, she's coming along in her training. It's a long road yet. If she's not useful, then she's no use to me. That's just the way it is with me. I can't help it. It's just the way I am. And if that sounds cold and harsh, well, I'm sorry. I don't mean it that way. It's just the way it is. And so I want her to be very useful, very helpful. Just to give you some ideas, some of the things I plan to teach her are like when I drop something to pick it up. Like, for instance, if I'm drop a glove, and not even right in her presence. If I drop a glove and it's over there 20 feet away, I want to be able to point to it and say, go pick that up and bring it here. And, have her do those kinds of things. And I think she'll do that. She seems like she's sharp enough, and we'll just have to wait and see. So, I'm just hoping it's going to work out for the best, and I think it will. She seems like a pretty good dog. And once again, I don't know why this thing won't let me scroll up. Maybe it's the exactly full screen again. I don't know. Maybe not. No, it's not. There we go. I got it to go scroll up a little bit. This thing gets weird. Rod Wentler looks like he was the first one before we went live. Then there's Thomas Armstrong. He says, "Morning, Jerry. We had to say goodbye to our dog Jasper yesterday. He was a Pekingese Pomeranian mix. In my 60s and haven't cried so hard in years. Do you think our pets will be with us in heaven?" Oh, I'm sorry to hear it, Thomas. I know how important pets are to a lot of people, and you know, I don't know, but I would assume so. I would just assume so. Yeah, it's sad. It's a sad time when you lose a dear friend, and any dear friend as far as that goes, but especially when it's one of your close pets, friends like that. Dottie Hildebrand, good morning, everyone. Hope you are feeling better. Well, it's just like I said, it's going to take a while. This never goes quick. It never does. Carolyn Fikes there. Let's see. Just looking, trying to look for comments mostly. They're talking about the weather and the tornado aspects, and of course, I'm always fat, dumb, and happy to that. I have no idea what's coming because I don't watch it, and I don't really worry about it. I really don't. I figure if I see a tornado coming, I'm going to do whatever I can do at that moment. And let's see. Kathy Volts. Good morning, Jerry, and from windy but warm West Palm Beach, Florida. And then there's Bill Webb. It's a crisp 33 degrees here in Commerce, Texas, but the sun is shining, no rain today. Well, it doesn't look like the sun's going to be out here today based on what I can see right now, at least not right away anyway. And it's pretty chilly. It's in the mid-30s. It's not real cold for this area for this time of the year. Could be way worse. I'm real happy with 30s. If it stays in the 30s all winter, I'm just tickled because I don't burn that much firewood compared to when it's down in the low 20s and colder. Then I burn at least double the firewood. Oh, it's just nuts. I mean, I still burn more than anybody on the planet, even at these temperatures. But it's, it's not nearly as bad as it can be. So I'm thanking my lucky stars right now. I don't know about this thing. It's driving me crazy this morning. The scrolling on this is not moving at all. There we go. Crazy. Just, I don't know why it's being contrary today for sure. Okay, after we went live, we got Soggy's Adventures. I'm excited I found my Harmony H27 bass from 1966 and just sent it out for rebuild. I bought it when I was 11 and can't wait to play it again. Well, I hope whoever you sent it to does a real good job. I expect they will, but you just never know these days. I'm telling you, it's kind of a crapshoot sometimes. And there's Bill Mumbo and Soggy Adventures again. Yeah, he's saying Soggy Adventures then says he's sorry to hear about that and God bless the family. Yeah, it's a sad deal when someone dies abruptly like that. As far as we know, that was a total shock to everybody. That's the word I'm hearing right now, that she had a heart attack. Peter Lawback from Germany, Christia Thomason, North Carolina, Bill Rhodes. Bill Rhodes says it might be a head gasket. You know, Bill, it's possible. I don't feel like there's problems in the cylinder area, and the reason is because it has such good compression. Typically, when their head gasket's blown or something, it won't have very good compression. But you could still be right. I mean, I still see things like that happen, and you'll think, well, how in the heck did that even run, you know? Well, as a matter of fact, my Ford tractor, a year ago about, it was just driving fine, and all at once, it just, I could tell it wasn't running on all the cylinders, and sure enough, it blew a head gasket. But in this case, we only got a one cylinder, so if the head gasket was really bad, I don't think it would run at all. It definitely runs. I just can't get it to idle up. So at this point, this project's on hold till I get the new carburetor. I'll put the new carburetor on. Maybe problem solved, maybe not. I'll go look deeper at that time. And at that time, I'll probably tear the head off and get into the cylinder and see what's going on. But right now, I still suspect it's probably something very minor. You know, most of the time, and this is just a tip for all troubleshooting, almost always, I mean, like almost always, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's usually way simpler than you're thinking. You know, like when your car won't start, just check to see if the connections are good, you know, on your battery. Start there. Don't start with, oh, the alternator's bad, start with the simple stuff. Always start with the simple stuff. 9 times out of 10, you're going to find your problem. It's usually the simple, common stuff that's the problem. And I don't care what kind of problem you're dealing with. Same way with this thing. It's probably just a stupid little carburetor jam up. You know, something's probably clogged up in that carburetor. You know, it's set for years. This thing's set for years. So the carburetor's probably got, build up on the inside of it, and it just didn't clean out in the sonic cleaner. That's my guess. But it didn't hurt to check this. Like I said, this could be the problem. And so I thought, while I'm waiting on the carburetor, rather than chase my tail, I'll check this because that's easy to check. But always check the simple stuff first. I don't care what the problem is, check the simple stuff first. You'll almost always find that that's where your problem's going to be. Let's see here. Hugh O'Connor. Let's see, did I miss a bunch here? I think I did, maybe. No, I didn't miss too many here. Hugh O'Connor says, is there a way to prevent non-geared machine heads loosening, or do they need replacing? Non-geared machine heads. So you're talking about the friction kind of tuners? That's the only thing I can think of that's not geared. So friction, in other words, it's like the peg just goes straight through the back, like on a banjo, and you have to tighten it. If that's what you're talking about, friction tuners like that generally have a screw in the end, and that screw tightens the friction. That's what that screw's for. It tightens up the friction. Put more in the comments if I missed your point. Christia Thomason, a quick look at Dr. Google, excuse me, didn't say much about that, but she would wager that my doctor would hope I'm further down the road before I get a shot. Yeah, I'll look into it. I would imagine Walgreens probably has a way to give you those shots. They do the flu shots and things, so I'll just call up there and ask them. Dottie says Sadie's doing good with her tricks. Yeah, she really is. She seems to be a fairly smart little dog. But this, I'm just going to say this because I've worked with animals my whole life. I mean, really my whole life. My dad had them since I was a baby. He's had horses and dogs. And the key to any animal is start with them when they're young. A lot of guys will say, oh, you have to wait till they're this old. No, start as soon as they start making sense to you. As soon as they can comprehend what you're doing, that's when you start. Start at that moment, and it just builds those brain cells as they're growing. And start as early as you can with any animal to train them. Now, I'm not saying you can't train an old dog to do something. You can, but you're going to work 10 times harder to do it. If you start when they're really young, not only do they learn the trick, but it helps them for the next trick and for the next, and it builds and it mushrooms. And if you stay with it, that's where I have my problem, I'll be honest with you, is I lose interest after a certain amount of time. I need to stay with her. If I can stay with her on this as she progresses for the next year or two, she'll be a heck of a dog. But that's my problem, is I have the problem, not her. I got to be able to stay with her and keep working with her. Chipwood, check out RSV shot as well as pneumonia shot. What are your top 5 woods for making a bridge? Well, I would start off with the traditional, which would be ebony, and then rosewood probably. And then for me, for my money, Padauk makes a great one too. Padauk's very good. In fact, I'd put it up as every bit as good as rosewood. I'm sure there are plenty of other ones out there. You know, any of the real good hardwoods, dense hardwoods, you know, like purple heart or, bloodwood or some of those other real dense, I can't think of the names of all of them, but like zebra wood. Now, some of them are toxic when you're cutting them in the dust and all that, so you got to be careful with some of these things when you're sanding and all that. I'd wear a mask with a lot of these exotic woods. That's true. That might be why I have my problems that I have, because in my early days especially, I didn't wear a mask. It could be part of it. It really could. But anyway, yeah, and then I've also used hedge apple, Osage orange. It's super hard and super dense. Persimmon I'm talking about domestic woods. You know, some of the domestic woods that are hard enough to make a bridge would be like persimmon, or even some of your fruit woods like pear and possibly apple or something. I'm kind of speaking out of turn there. You'd want to know that those are really hard. If they're really hard and they're really dense, they would probably work just fine. I would not use something like oak. I would not use, I probably wouldn't use walnut either, partly because it's really brittle. Walnut you can split real easy. I mean, I don't know if you, again, I know this from firewood, guys. Probably the easiest wood there is to split when you're splitting firewood with an axe is walnut. It's so easy to split it. You can just look at it and it'll bust open. I mean, it's really easy to split. You can split a big log with a hatchet. So that's why I probably wouldn't use walnut, because it's so easy to split like that. It's prone to splitting. You just want to take into consideration all the different properties of wood. But heavy, dense wood is really where it's at when it comes to a bridge. So that's the best I got. Hope that makes sense to you. Bill Dedrick, Jerry, have you ever met or played with Sharon Gilchrist? She also is a great mandolin player for sure. No, I don't think so. I don't know who she is. Is she by chance the wife of Stephen Gilchrist? I don't know. But anyway, I have met, I'm saying Stephen. I don't know if I'm getting it right. You know me and names. The Gilchrist that builds the mandolins. I think his name's Stephen. But anyway, I could be wrong on that. But anyway, I've met him a time or two. I haven't actually played music with him. Marigold time. Sadie is a good girl. Yep. Papa Tom, is that a computer tower that is glowing under your desk? Yeah, that's my computer. Just so you know, it's a high-end motherboard, high-end. Well, I've got a high-end graphics card in there now too, and a lot of memory and all that. And basically, I just bought the bare bones. It didn't have a graphics card in it. I just bought the bare bones off of eBay, and I found a guy that had a good reputation, and he was selling them comparatively fairly cheap. And I've been very happy with it so far. So, yeah, I'm pretty tickled with it. It seems like a pretty darn good computer. It seems to run everything quick enough, that's what my goal was. But that's what that is. I didn't buy it because it had the lights in it. I could care less about the lights. In fact, I wish it didn't have them, actually, but it does, and so there you go. And there's that Christia Thomason talking that Swedish stuff again. Payday 1963. The pneumonia shots that are given now are only for pneumococcal pneumonia, which is serious bacterial infection. It does not protect against all types of pneumonia infections. Well, I don't doubt that at all. And whether I have that type or not, I don't really know, honestly. I might have to try to find that out, too. And then Marigold is answering back in Swedish. There's no telling what they're saying. I know they're talking about me. Larry Fisher. When your arm will be sore for 2 days after the shot, but I do not get any lung congestion. Yeah, I don't, I'll be honest, I don't like getting shots at all. I kind of dread it every time I get one. But on the other hand, it doesn't really bother me that much either. I can take my shots. It's not a big deal. Oddly enough, and this is where everybody's going to get weird on this, I can tell, it always does. Everybody I talk to about, like dental work, I don't care about that at all. It don't bother me one little bit. Like getting a shot, and it doesn't bother me. I don't know. It just doesn't bother me. And drilling on the teeth and, all the different things that dentists do, it just doesn't bother me. So I know, but now like getting a regular shot in the arm, I'm not real crazy about that, but I'll do it, It's not my favorite thing. Wow. Jeff Pierce says his missus got a RSV from a sick baby at Christmas. About killed her. Wow. I've heard about this RSV thing, but I don't know much about that. Thomas is saying, is the key the same thing as a shear pin on a small engine? Well, yeah. I don't ever remember calling it a shear pin. I mean, there's a lot of things that have shear pins, but the flywheels, I'd never ever heard a flywheel called a shear pin, but I mean, it's kind of the same thing. A shear key, you could maybe call it. But typically flywheels are held on with a little square or half moon, a lot of them are half moon, key that you stick down in the slot and slide the flywheel down over that key. And I mean, I guess you could call that a pin, but most shear pins are, the way I look, because I've done so much with farm work and things, and there's lots of shear pins on lots of farm machinery, like the big flywheel on a baler. It's actually a shear bolt in this case, but it's the same thing as a shear pin. You put a bolt through there and tighten it down, and then when that if the baler hits something really hard, that flywheel's got so much momentum, it shears that bolt off or the shear pin off. That's what I consider a shear pin, where typically flywheels, I don't think, have shear pins that I can remember. I don't recall seeing shear pins on flywheels. I don't know. I can't remember everything I've seen, though. I probably have seen that, too. Let's see. Daddy Hildebrand, Walgreens, Walmart, do those shots for free if you have Medicare. Also flu shots. Okay. Hugh O'Connor, spot on, thanks. Okay, well, good. I guess that was about the tuning keys, I think. Larry Fisher, yes, Walgreens, you can get shingle shot too. Yeah, I've heard about the shingles thing too. I probably should, but golly, there's so many shots. I'm not liking this way this discussion's going. I think right now, if I could get the pneumonia thing stopped, I'll be tickled with that. Bill Dedrick, Sharon Gilchrist played with the Tony Rice band back in the 90s. Really? You'd think I'd know that. No relation to Steve. Okay. Wow. Huh. I don't remember. Maybe I do remember a little bit. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I've always been a big fan of Tony Rice, but I don't remember him playing that much with the gals. I kind of remember seeing a clip here or there, maybe, but no, I wasn't really aware of that. Bruce Ducker, you can turn off the lights in the settings. Oh, okay. Well, I might do that then. I never really cared about it one way or the other, but I might do that. Christia Thomason, if we were talking about you, it would only be complimentary. Oh, yeah, right, sure. But thank you, anyway. Bill Mumbo, I know them as Woodruff keys. Yeah, now that's the half moon, I think, is the Woodruff key. There's names for all those keys, but I don't remember them. But I'm pretty sure the Woodruff, I could be wrong on this, but I think the Woodruff key is the half moon one. And there's other names for the other keys, and I don't know what they are. Yeah, Christia says, shots stink, but shingles are worse. That's a tongue twister right there. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that have gotten shingles, and it doesn't look like fun to me. I'm one of those people, though, where, I'm telling you, I know I say these things all the time, and I know people probably get tired of hearing it, but things react different to me. I mean, I'm not kidding you, man. Like, everything's backwards. I'm really afraid to get some of these shots because I'm afraid it'll have the opposite reaction on me, and like the shingle shot. I'm afraid it'll make me get the shingles. Again, it's because I have this, what they call paradoxical reaction to lots of things. It's not just one or two things. And, I mean, like most of the drugs that make people sleepy wire me up to the point where I cannot sleep at all. And, other people, they say, man, if I take codeine, I'm out for, the night, Shoot, if I take codeine, I could fly a jet plane because I definitely am not going to fall asleep. It's just the way it is. And that's what worries me about these things is I never know what reaction I'm going to have. And it's usually different than everybody else. I am a genetic defect. Mountain View Russ says, get the shingles vaccine, Jerry. Okay, all right, well, okay. Have I ever played with the Chapman Brothers? Well, I played live on their acoustic shop show down there, just in their studio, but never on stage, no. But there is a video out there where I went down and visited them and took the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human. I took it down there and we played that and played a couple other mandolins and things, and we had a good time. But no, I've never played with them on stage. I heard your Uncle Don, but personally I like your voice better. Well, thank you. That's nice to hear. Don, you'd have to hear the right songs. Don was a really fine singer, especially on certain songs. You know how everybody has their songs. And there's some of them he was really, really top notch. And I keep meaning to let you hear some of it, but what I was planning to let you hear is some of the really early stuff. I'm going to make a note here so that I can try to remember to do that tomorrow. Yeah, because if I don't make a note, I'll forget for sure. Don's songs. I'll try to find a couple of them anyway. The Outboard Tinkerer 62. Jerry went through 4 Poulin Pro leaf blowers. They are rated to last for 50 hours of runtime. Junk in my eyes. I used electric now. It's funny about Poulin. I kind of like their chainsaws. I mean, they're lightweight, but as just a lightweight trimming chainsaw, I've had pretty good luck with them, really. I kind of like them. I don't know much about their leaf blowers. Bruce says he wouldn't wish shingles on my worst enemy. He had it in his 20s. Larry Fisher, I got shingles on my face, and Doc was worried about getting in my eye. It was awful. Wow. Yeah, I guess I should. Pneumonia and shingles. Because I did have chickenpox when I was a kid. Eddie Turner says they're wishing each other Happy New Year. And Marigold says, Eddie, do you speak Swedish? He probably used the Google Translate. Thomas Armstrong, thank you for your vlog, taking my mind off my dog for a little bit. Yeah, Thomas, I'm really sorry about your dog. It's terrible when that happens. You know, I know how people are with their animals. My wife, she really mourns the loss of one of our pets when they pass, you know. And it was tough when Buck passed. You know, it makes me sad. Don't get me wrong. I don't get real emotional over pets, unfortunately. It's just the way I was raised, and I can't help it. It's just, you know, it's just like training Sadie. I'm training her at a very young age to be a certain way. I was trained at a very young age to be a certain way. And it's really hard to change now, trust me. You can believe what you want, but that's just my story, and I'm sticking to it. Guys, that's it. I'm going to plan for today is I've got to get in there and work on that floor jack since I'm held up on this project, waiting on the parts. I'm going to get in there and work on that floor jack. I'm going to rebuild the pump. I'm going to do some lathe work. I've re-welded the cast iron wheels, and I say cast iron. I think they're cast steel because they weld really well. And I've welded up some cracks that were in those cast steel wheels, and I'm going to turn them down on my lathe and make them like new again. The frame of that floor jack was tweaked and bent, as I mentioned, and I'm going to try to straighten that out on my press. And so I got a lot of work to do on that jack today, but I'd like to finish that today and put it back in service. And I think I can get that done. And I am trying to make a video of that as well. So hopefully you'll see that down the road if it all goes well. Eddie Turner says, check your tank vent. The tank needs to breathe. Well, you could have a point there on that. I mean, that honestly could be an issue. Trying to think about that on a chainsaw. You know, I know most everything needs a tank vent, but I'm trying to think of where that would be on a chainsaw because the lids are sealed because you turn them in every direction, and otherwise the gas would be pouring out. So I don't know how that works on a chainsaw. I got to think that one through. But it's a good point, and it is possible that it could be something like that that's causing it to not draw. So that's a good point. I'm going to look into that because I don't know where that vent would be and how it would operate because I know they have to have something to be able to pull the gas in. Larry Fisher says, no power, Central Kansas, huge blizzard. Oh, man, all roads. Yee. You just keep that over there on your side of the border, okay? B.H. Ringer, Husqvarna manufactures Poland chainsaws, headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. I didn't know that. I think that one time they were probably separate. I imagine Husqvarna bought them out or something. Husqvarna also makes, now I can't think of it. It's more red than orange in the color, I think. It's another brand. It's a lot of professionals use them too, and I can't think of it. I had one. That was the first one that I actually had, and it's made by Husqvarna, and you can't tell it from the saw I have now. My 372 XP was exactly like the red one that Husqvarna makes. I can't think of the name of it. Somebody will know it. Marigold Time says Husqvarna is Swedish. Yeah, I've been speaking Swedish for a long time, Marigold. I've been able to say Husqvarna for a long time. Probably don't say it like you say it, but Eddie Turner says he sent me a video. Well, thank you. Guys, I'm going to let that be it. I will see you tomorrow with something, and there's more popping up there. John Sered, yes, you got it right. That's what I was trying to think of, John Sered. That was the first one of this. You know, I don't think I had a Husqvarna up to that point. Yeah, I probably did. I probably had some small ones. But But when I got the Johnson Red, man, I thought, man, that's a saw cutting machine there. I mean, that's a firewood cutting machine, that Johnson Red. And it was the same size, same build as my 372 XP that I have now. And that's a heavy saw. You know, the professional loggers, honestly, and I'm not making this up, they call that a trim saw. And it can handle up to I don't know, at least a 30-inch bar. I think it can handle a 36-inch bar. And they call that a trim saw. And I know that because their loggers were here, and I was showing them my saw. And they go, yeah, that's a nice saw. We call those a trim saw. and they had, you know, the big brother of my 372 XP is what they were using. But anyway, the Johnson Red and the Husqvarna are identical, really. I mean, you can swap parts. In fact, I did swap parts. So anyway, Johnson Red in Sweden also, yeah. And anyway, now I am going to hang up. Sorry, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.